Buckle up, Britain, because we're in the middle of one of the most controversial political sagas of the year. Sir Keir Starmer has dropped a bombshell announcing that he's committed to keeping the UK tied to the European Convention on Human Rights, ECHR, indefinitely. But here's where it gets even juicier. This declaration comes just days after Nigel Farage warned that as long as Britain remains under the grip of the Strasbourg court, the Channel migrant crossings will never stop. With record-high numbers of illegal crossings, Starmer's vow has sent shockwaves across the country. Is Britain on the brink of losing control of its own borders? And that's not all. The Labour government is also under fire for a new inheritance tax policy that's leaving British farmers furious, calling it catastrophic for food production and national security. As if that weren't enough, Foreign Secretary David Lammy has reignited the reparations debate, saying the UK owes a debt to former colonies affected by the slave trade, while refusing to consider cash payments, sparking backlash both at home and abroad. Tonight, we'll delve deep into each of these controversies, exposing the growing cracks in Britain's national security, economic stability, and global standing. Don't go anywhere, because you'll want to see how this story unfolds. Now, let's break down the latest bombshell from just the past 24 hours. Starmer's speech in Glasgow has stunned the political world, with his pledge to keep Britain locked to the ECHR despite rising national security concerns and a migrant crisis spiralling out of control. And in a move that has many questioning his judgment, Starmer doubled down on his commitment to European human rights, claiming it's Britain's duty to act with humanity. We're about to show you a clip of Starmer's speech. Pay close attention because this might be the moment that defines his political legacy. Right after this, we'll take you through Farage's fiery response and the immediate backlash that's erupting across the nation.
I was a prosecutor myself. I served as the Director of Public Prosecutions in England and Wales. Not here in Scotland. We're a complicated set of arrangements across these countries. But what we know from being a country of 4 nations, what I know from having served in that role, having seen the complexity of operations that fight organised crime firsthand, is that crime is global, criminals do not respect borders.
The clip may have been short, but the impact is explosive. Starmer's declaration to never withdraw from the ECHR at the Interpol summit has unleashed a storm. In Glasgow, Starmer attempted to position himself as the leader capable of addressing Britain's migrant crisis while respecting international law. He even promised to treat people smugglers like terrorists, pledging that Britain would invest £150 million into a new border security command. Yet for many, this isn't nearly enough. And for Nigel Farage, who has been sounding the alarm for years, Starmer's stance confirms his worst fears. Britain's border crisis will only escalate if the UK remains shackled to the ECHR. In an emotional video released just days before Starmer's speech, Farage didn't hold back. The Tories have chosen their side. By backing Kemi Badenoch over Robert Jenrick, the Conservative Party has made it clear that they're committed to staying in the ECHR. Labour's just following suit. And what does that mean for Britain? We can't deport foreign criminals. The Channel crossings will never stop. Farage's rallying cry has electrified frustrated Britons, who are demanding answers on why their country seems powerless to control its borders. With Britain locked to the ECHR, many believe it's only a matter of time before border control collapses completely. But Starmer's announcement is just the tip of the iceberg. As Labour battles this growing border scandal, a second crisis has erupted over a controversial new tax policy targeting British farmers. In a shocking move, Chancellor Rachel Reeves defended the government's decision to scrap inheritance tax relief for farmers, stating it's not affordable and that the money would go to public services like the NHS. Yet, for British farmers, Reeves's statement is an insult and a threat to the future of British agriculture. Tom Bradshaw, president of the National Farmers Union, was one of the first to call out Labour's policy, labelling it a massive mistake that could lead to a collapse in British food production. Lincolnshire farmer Andrew Ward went even further, saying the announcement felt like watching a horror movie. As farmers reel from financial losses following the wettest season in recent memory, many are already on the brink of collapse. "This tax is absolutely catastrophic," Ward fumed. "We're already dealing with high machinery costs and unpredictable weather. They're taxing the very means of our survival. If Labour doesn't reverse this, British farms won't survive the decade." Ward's outrage is shared by farmers across the country who feel blindsided by Labour's attack on their livelihoods. Reeves has defended the decision as necessary for economic stability, but critics argue that taking funds from farmers in the name of public finances will do far more harm than good. Ward issued a grim warning. "They say they want to help the economy, but this will destroy it. Food production will fall and imports will rise. We're already importing 40% of our food, and that will skyrocket if this tax stands." As fury over Labour's policies mounts, David Lammy has introduced yet another layer of controversy to the party's platform. Speaking in Lagos, Nigeria, Lammy called for reparatory justice for former colonies affected by the transatlantic slave trade. Although Lammy insisted reparations wouldn't involve direct financial payments, his comments stirred widespread debate. Caribbean nations have long pushed for cash reparations as part of their 10-point plan for reparatory justice, which includes financial compensation, healthcare, and educational programs. But Lammy's refusal to consider cash has sparked backlash from activists who believe Britain's historical debt demands real reparations, not vague promises of skills-sharing partnerships. For Lammy, the speech was intended to honour the legacy of those affected by colonialism without offering funds Britain cannot afford. Yet, in sidestepping the financial component, many critics feel Lammy's remarks fall short of real accountability. "I am the descendant of enslaved people, so I understand the scars left by that history," Lammy said. But for many, his words are a reminder of the British government's hesitancy to confront its colonial past. As calls for reparatory justice grow louder, Lammy faces scrutiny for what many perceive as a political sidestep. Commonwealth leaders are urging the UK to take reparations seriously, but Lammy's deflection has only fueled frustration both at home and abroad. Is the UK genuinely committed to justice, or are they merely offering empty words? With each of these scandals, Britain finds itself at a breaking point. Starmer's commitment to the ECHR suggests that border control will remain a struggle for the foreseeable future, leaving millions of Britons questioning their country's sovereignty. Meanwhile, Labour's inheritance tax bombshell has farmers on the edge of revolt, fearing for their industry's survival. And Lammy's position on reparations, though carefully crafted, has sparked fury among activists who see it as another example of Britain's unwillingness to reckon with its past. In a country divided on so many fronts, Labour's decisions are setting the stage for a massive political showdown. Will Starmer, Reeves and Lammy be able to weather the storm, or are they paving the way for a backlash that will reshape British politics for years to come?